feeling for that. Powerful. Every time I hear that, I want to think, turn, turn. That's how powerful music is, right? That Ecclesiastes is problematic. The beginning of Ecclesiastes goes, vanity of vanities, everything's vanity, it's all dust, it doesn't mean a thing. It is, if the Bible is kind of like the spiritual blueprint of our lives, every book has its own kind of personality, it has its own theme. The theme of Ecclesiastes is depression. That's what it's about. We're on our spiritual journey, and we often think, especially in New Thought, I shouldn't be feeling this way, or I shouldn't be. We go through everything in life. Every feeling, every imagined emotion, we go through. There is no good or bad, it's just going through the human experience that we are here to go through. And so if you read Ecclesiastes, know that the person's going through depression and wondering where God is at the moment. So I love that. There's a time for everything. Time is what we're talking about today. Time. A few years ago, I shared a wonderful observation by George Carlin about the journey of time, the journey of getting older. It's so spot on, I'm going to share it again. If you remember it from last time, just sit there and be quiet. Or laugh. But if you haven't heard it, it's really wonderful. He said, do you realize that the only time in our lives when we like to get old is when we're kids? If you're less than 10, you're so excited about aging, you think in fractions. How old are you? I'm 4.5. You're never 36.5. You're 4.5 going on 5, that's the key. You get into your teens, now they can't hold you back. You jump to the next number or even a few ahead. How old are you? I'm going to be 16. You could be 13, but hey, I'm going to be 16. And then the greatest day of your life, you become 21. Even the word sounds like a ceremony. You become 21. Yes. But then you turn 30. Ooh. What happened there? It sounds like bad milk. He turned, we had to throw him out. So you become 21, you turn 30, you push 40. You reach 50, and you make it to 60. You build so much speed that you hit 70. After that is a day-by-day thing. You hit Wednesday. You get into your 80s, and every day is a complete cycle. You hit lunch. You turn 4:30. You reach bedtime. In your 90s, you start going backwards. I was just 92. And then a strange thing happens. If you make it to 100, you become a little kid again. I'm 100 and a half. Isn't that great? Yay, George. He was wonderful. Time is such an elusive mystery. And yet it presents itself non-stop in our lives all the time. No pun intended. Time is just so present for us, especially in New York. And I didn't realize it in the Berkshires as much. I looked up, the sun's going down. That was pretty much my life in the Berkshires. Oh, the sun's up, I'm getting up. Oh, look, it's going down. In New York, everything seems to be about time. Clocks are everywhere in the city. You ever notice that? Clocks are everywhere telling us it's time, it's time, it's time. The alarm, get up. Our work tells us here's the time you got to be there. The subway on the way to work tells us how long to the next train. How much time it takes to get home, how much time it takes to get downtown, uptown, whatever, we know. We know what time our favorite shows are on. Downton Abbey, 9 o'clock PBS. And yet, time is also illusionary. The 12 years from first grade to 12th are the longest years ever. right?
Yes,
They were like 45 years getting from the first grade to the 12th grade. For me, it was 1961 to 73. Whole lifetime. But the 12 years between 2003 and 2015, they were like 3 years, right? Remember 2000? Y2K?
yeah, yes.
Sounds like ancient history now. But that was only a couple of years ago. Or so. So we think the most challenging things in our lives drag on. They drag on forever. And the most wonderful times of our lives are over so quickly. Do you ever do a long run of a show, for those of you who are actors or performers? It could be like a 5, 6, 7, 10-year run, and it felt like, I don't remember it. It went by so quickly. Or you did a job you really, really loved. You did a project. Like, where did it go? It was so wonderful. We do a retreat in Connecticut. Remember Trinity Conference Center or the other ones that we've done? I would say it's the longest, shortest weekend of your life or a week of your life. Because you just get there, it's like it's already over. And you feel like you've been there a month at the same time with all the work that we do. So time is that weird illusion of, is this real? Is time a real thing? Those 20 years with the person that you loved most was over in what felt like 2 years, if they left or made transition. And that 2-year relationship with you know who was, oh my God. Was that 50 years, those 2 years? It was such a long time. Years ago, when Congress was debating daylight savings time, whether to accept it or not, as an option for businesses to stay open with more light available, a conservative senator said, we shouldn't be messing around with God's time. He said, God set the time and it's a sin to change it. Well, it changed anyway, so. But time is a planetary conceit. It's not a divine attribute. Time is linear awareness. It is, here's this spot, here's that spot, and here's what happened then. It's a consecutive consciousness, if you will. It's one episode after another, although life doesn't really run that way. We try to picture it that way, but it's not really how it runs. It's not linear, it's like a flower unfolding. There are many, many things happening at one time. Some seem slower, some seem quicker. But it's all unfolding at the same divine time. In fact, in discussing reincarnation, I'm often asked by people, how come I can't remember other lives? If reincarnation, if I've had other lives, shouldn't I be able to remember? After all, I was there. Why can't I remember it? Well, let me ask you, what did you have for lunch October 3rd, 1987? What did you have for lunch October 3rd of this year, of this past year? What were you doing March 8th, 2004 after dinner? What were you working on in the 3rd grade for the Easter concert? Can you recall what you got for Christmas 3 years ago? Well, unless it was something unusual, something special, probably not. We remember snapshots. When we think of a thing, we have emotions, we have pictures, we can hear something perhaps. We have that, what was the feeling I was going through? But even then, often it's not complete. We don't remember every single detail of what went on. We've heard the story about the 4-year-old who was looking over the crib at his baby sister and said, tell me about God, I'm beginning to forget. As children, we remember so well, and then as we get older, we get more crystallized. And we become adulterated. We get hardened, and we forget. But as with this life, it's not the calendar or the clock that's important. It's what we do with the time that we have that's important. So again, if I can't remember 2005, how can I be expected to remember 1745? So we have had many lives, and what we remember are the soul experiences we got from that life, or even here. It's the images, it's the experience, it's the lessons that we needed to learn on a deep soul spiritual level that we retain and always have. You ever meet a young soul? Oh my goodness, it's so young. Even at 50, 60, 70, you can tell a young soul who maybe has only been here once or twice. Because they're so, oh my goodness, so Phoebe Buffet. Wonderful to watch, but oh my goodness, that's a young soul. Now, all souls of the same age, it says, how often have we been here? How often have we returned to this planet to do this thing called life? And again, even though we may not remember a certain year in particular, we do remember that when we were young and we were starting out as lives as adults, new adults, young adults, everything and anything was possible. The whole world was just waiting for us to go out there and to show ourselves. Remember that? When I was a student in the drama department at the Boston Conservatory, we were told by our teacher the first day, there are 100 of you and only maybe 5 of you will make a living out of doing this. The rest of you will end up somewhere in an office. And none of us believed it was us. Matter of fact, 12 of my classmates are still working here in New York. So they defied God, which was really wonderful. But we had such wonderful hopes and dreams when we first began. And a lot of us let it go. Or what happened is we can continue doing it, then something happened, something turned, something went not off, but we took a different perspective on it. Dr. Eben Alexander, in his book, The Map of Heaven, says, before my near-death experience, I had those thoughts myself that everything was possible. The thrill of living wasn't gone exactly. I loved my family and my work, and there were certainly many challenges and adventures lying ahead that I was looking forward to. But at the same time, a kind of inner feeling of expansion, of genuine newness coming at me fast, had stopped. I had a short lost hope, for that is what hope is, the sense that somehow something truly good and truly new is on its way right now. So somehow we lost that feeling of excitement, of something new, something exciting, something wonderful showing up in our lives. You can tell when somebody has kind of let all that go, says, yeah, been there, done that. Got the mug and the t-shirt kind of thing. You know, there's a little jaded quality, there's a little cynical quality to it. Because we don't expect anything really wonderful is going to happen again. Again, we get a little cynical about anything really new, anything exciting or unique or life-changing in a real positive way to happen for us. I wondered about that as I read Dr. Alexander's words, and the teachings of Jesus popped into my mind, which is, unless you become a child again, you cannot possibly inherit the kingdom of heaven. Unless you go back to that time where everything was awesome in the true sense of the word, and joyful and full of excitement and expectation, then you shut down. You shut down the good from appearing in your life. You notice how cranky some people get as they get older? Not here. No, we're not cranky at all. But those who seem to have given up, you can see them walking down the street. You know, you give them a wide berth. You can see them. They'll look on them, okay. Have you noticed that in your friends or family who have gotten older and seem to have lost their joy? Now they're just kind of hanging out. Kind of waiting. What they call Florida God's waiting room. Still here. Have you lost your joy as time seems to go by? Our joy, power, life, passion, and energy tends to slow way down when we give power to the outside world that thinks we should be acting in a certain way as we get older. Actor age. What does that mean? This is the age I am, and I'm acting me. So I am acting my age. Whatever that means. You are acting your age in your mind. What do you think? How old would you be if you didn't know what year you were born in? How old are you? 12? 30? Are you pushing 40? How joyful, how young are you in your spirit? seem our parents and our grandparents were acting 70 or 80 when they were really 50 or 60?
Yes.
Remember that? My grandmother was 60 at one point. I thought she was like 95. She just seemed 95 to me. My other grandmother was so much younger, but she was actually older than my other grandmother, which is really fascinating. I don't think we really age that way today. I think we know that aging is a state of mind. That we are truly, as cliche as it sounds, we're as young as we feel. People do not age in a certain way, in the way that they used to. We used to have to think. Well, I'm 50 now, so I'm going to sit in the chair now and wait. And then make that sound as we get up. I noticed myself doing that sound the other day when I was tying my shoe. Oh, no! No! I need a new affirmation. We are creations of eternal spirit. That's the truth of who we are. So every age you have ever been on the planet, you still are inside. You're still a 4-year-old, 5-year-old, 12-year-old, 20-year-old, 30-year-old, whatever it might be. Eternal beings of spirit don't grow old. We don't have less curiosity. We're not uncreative. We don't shrivel up and die unless we choose to. That certainly is your choice. If you go, oh my God, I'm too old, I just want to sit here and grunt. That's your choice, but you don't have to. You are as old or as young as you project. Passion and joy are always here, but we can choose to accept it or not. And don't tell me about your knee or your arthritis, blah, 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 blah. We all have something. You have a walker, you have a wheelchair, whatever you have, whatever challenge you have, doesn't prevent you from being creative. It doesn't prevent you from being joyful or inquisitive or curious about life, even though you may be 70, 80, 90, or 100. Our culture may not totally and fully embrace the wisdom and experience that we have the longer that we're here, but we don't live for the culture. We're not here for anybody outside. We're here for ourselves. We're here to live the experience, the fullness of God's unlimited power and good. You are way more interesting, creative, attractive, wise, loving, understanding, relaxed, thoughtful, funny, insightful, spiritual, and hotter than you were at 19.
Amen. Yeah.
What did he say? He said you're hotter than you were. But it's true. You, at this age, know more. You have gone through it. And now you can relax and become the real child that you are. That's what it is. So you're much more than that than you were at 19, 20, 25, or 30. Now, if you're those ages now, when you get to this side, you're totally going to understand what I'm saying. If you're not, oh my God. No, you'll get it. You'll get it. Dr. Alexander, who actually died and went to the other side and came back to tell his amazing story in his 2 books, The Proof of Heaven and The Map of Heaven, which I just shared a little bit ago, right? So we have to relearn how to see this world in the light of heaven. We must allow everything around us to shine forth with the utter individuality, uniqueness, and value that every sparrow, every blade of grass, every person you know has, because each of those is a multidimensional cosmic being. You ever think of grass as a cosmic being? It really and truly is. Manifesting right here and right now. We are in the midst of the most important, significant leap in human understanding in history. We are about to rediscover the other side of life, a side that a very deep, very hidden part of us never forgot to begin with, but that most of us kept secret from ourselves because our culture told us we had to. So to put all that aside, you are just human, here to struggle along with the rest of us, forgetting the spiritual nonsense. That's not the truth. Actually, the spiritual nonsense is the real. The outside is the variety or variation of real. We, from our consciousness, will express onto this canvas outside of ourselves what we believe, what we feel, what we know to be the truth. So the other side of life is what we're bringing through our heart to the outer. Joy, passion, love, the allness are our creative, wonderful, powerful selves. The great leap of understanding he talked about is a spiritual one. It's all spiritual. This is all spirit, no matter what you think. Your relationship with your friends and family, it's all spiritual. It's all a laboratory to see how am I going to react with this other child of God. Your work is just a spiritual laboratory. Everything we do is a spiritual laboratory to prove the truth of our power and joy. So the understanding I'm divine and I have power is applied to every single part of our lives. To be able to heal from whatever the experts, quote unquote, say is impossible at your age. Remember the woman who said that she went to the doctor and says, well, you have arthritis in your knee, and you're not going to be able to use it ever again. Mm-hmm. So you don't have the power in your knee to do what you need to do. That's just old age. He said, it's ridiculous. My other knee is just as old, and it's fine. So she put that out of her mind, and she began to do the healing work, and it was fine. So our job also is to prosper when it seems like there isn't enough good to go around. There aren't enough jobs here. There aren't enough jobs. There aren't enough jobs. So if you keep believing that for yourself, there's not enough jobs for you. But you're here to claim your own. And your good is your good, and your financial good is yours as you open your heart to it. Or we hear, I'm too old to be employed in that career or to have a new career. Why? If you're up and about and you can do it, you can do it. I'm too old to have love. Oh, how many times in counseling have I heard that? Oh, there's nobody here in New York for me. I'm too old, everybody is 20. I'm 25. I'm the oldest one. Wrong. Nobody is too old to love. There is somebody waiting for you when you accept it, when you affirm it, when you begin to see that as a reality. As my dear friend Doris says, there's a lid for every pot. Except your divine lid. Or your divine pot. Or we say, life has passed me by and nothing will ever be exciting again. Well, and so it is. For you. Only for you. Because that is your affirmation, that's your truth. You're a powerful child of God, what you say goes. And comes back to you triple-fold, 100-fold. The more power we give it, the more it comes back. You are an ageless being of joy, but only when you know it can you actually access that power for yourself. And it really truly does not matter how old you are, how young you are, how limited your situation may seem to be at the moment. You choose your life, and life agrees with you. You choose what you're going to believe, you choose the life you want to have, and then you want to show it. As you hold to the truth with joy, with passion, and with faith. Years ago, I counseled a woman who had the smallest voice I had ever heard. I kept leaning in, I still couldn't hear her. And with my hearing impairment, that really made comprehension really difficult. Like, she could be speaking Greek for I have no idea what she's saying. I got so frustrated at times during counseling, I said, I wanted to yell, good God, speak up. I can't hear you. You have a voice, use it. Well, she shared with me by the 5th or 6th counseling session something she never really shares with anybody, which is that she was in a concentration camp as a child and was not allowed to talk. See, we don't know our stories. We don't know what another person's gone through. We think, what's wrong with this person? Well, there's a history. There's something that had happened that brought this person to where they are. So even in her 60s, she wasn't a child anymore, but she barely rose above a whisper. I had her do an affirmation every day, at least 20 times a day. I have a voice, and what I say matters. I have a voice, and what I say matters. Affirm that with me. I have a voice, and what I say matters. Breathe. That may be the first time you ever said that. It's It's the truth of who you are. Now, it wasn't easy for this woman to say that. As a matter of fact, she could barely say it the first time I had her affirm it. But within a year, I didn't have to ask her to speak up anymore. Now, she still was very soft-spoken, but she now had a very clear voice. I could hear her very easily. Know that you have a power inside of you to have a great life, to have your voice be heard, to do what you came to do. I never want to hear from anybody here again that age is an issue. It isn't. It really and truly is not. I don't care if you're 19 or 99, it doesn't matter. You have all you need right now in your heart. Health, money, success, a loving mate, a nice home, peace of mind, freedom from addiction, freedom from depression. Whatever you're going through, it's a spiritual lesson. It is not a permanent thing. You're getting through it. Get through it to the other side. Be grateful for the lesson and move on to accept the wonderful divine child you are. Absolutely. Yes. Amen. Take a breath.